Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
I have this nightmare that I never finish college, or that someone's going to find out that I don't have the qualifications for this job and I'm like a total fraud.
Hi, I'm Jane Marie, host of The Dream, and that's a clip from my appearance on Mind If We Talk, a new podcast from BetterHelp that demystifies what therapy is really about and is here to remind us all that whatever we're going through, we're never alone. I recently sat down with host and licensed therapist Jesus Joe to talk about imposter syndrome, where I shared a bit more about my experience with feeling inadequate or not worthy of my job, motherhood, being a girlfriend. And of course, because this is therapy, we offer solutions. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to those kinds of feelings. I can't wait for you to hear it, to listen to the rest of our conversation and hear other guests explore struggles we all face in life. Listen and subscribe to Mind If We Talk, wherever you get your podcasts.
I can't tell you how often I hear, oh, I'm a little OCD. I like things neat. That's not OCD. I'm Howie Mandel, and I know this because I have OCD. Actual OCD causes relentless unwanted thoughts. What if I did something terrible and forgot? What if I'm a bad person? Why am I thinking this terrible thing? It makes you question absolutely everything, and you'll do anything to feel better. OCD is debilitating, but it's also highly treatable with the right kind of therapy. Regular talk therapy doesn't cut it. OCD needs specialized therapy. That's why I want to tell you about NoCD. NoCD is the world's largest virtual therapy provider for OCD. Their licensed therapists provide specialized therapy virtually, and it's covered by insurance for over 155 million Americans. If you think you might be struggling with OCD, visit nocd.com to schedule a free 15-minute call and learn more. That's nocd.com.
Welcome to Aran Island This, a podcast series where we talk to Irish people from different walks of life as they reflect on their own journeys. Join me, Russell McDermott, as we explore the many aspects of Irishness and what it means to each of our guests through life's ups and downs. Peter Murtagh, welcome to Aran Island This.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
And the first trick question is, have you been to the Aran Islands? When, and did you enjoy it?
I have been to the Aran Islands, and I certainly did enjoy it. I suppose my first consciousness of the islands would have been as a schoolboy when we were studying the Gaelic Literary Revival and Yeats and Lady Gregory and, of course, John Millington Synge and the Playboy and what have you, and just becoming aware of that world that these guys were reimagining, I suppose, to use today's language. They were bringing to public attention again the whole culture of the west of the Aran Islands and how important it was. So I had that general knowledge that I suppose that lots of people who grew up in urban Ireland would have had in their youth. And then I went out there once or twice, and the most memorable time, I suppose, was in 1986, 87, when I brought my then girlfriend, who is from England. Her name is Moira Gutteridge, and we were going out. She's now my wife and has been for 34 years. And we had, one of those holidays where the summer in Connemara was like it's been for the last few days, and in turquoise blue sea and sun shining. And we were sitting on the rocks in Dogs Bay, and a couple of lobster fishermen were clearing out one of their storage areas of lobsters, a keep in the water. And they threw us a couple of lobsters, a couple of small ones. We went into the pub at Roundstone, and a guy popped the lobsters into a kettle and cooked them for us and gave them to us. And we went to Rossaville. We got the ferry out to the island. We walked up to Dunengus, and sitting on the ground with our backs against the wall, facing the sun, we cracked open the lobsters and ate them. And it was just magic.
Wow.
Or utter magic.
Maura thought every day was going to be like that, did she?
Oh, yeah, she was man after that. That was a game, set and match.
Yeah. But it's an amazing place when the weather is like that. I've been once or twice and the weather's been like that, Peter. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it is extraordinary. It is. You wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world on days like that.
I was struck by the colour of the water. It was like Barbados.
Yep. Yeah, that turquoise blue. It's so clear and so clean, and it does something to your emotions, obviously, something to your soul that makes you feel content, at peace with the world, makes you feel alive, makes you feel relaxed. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I just did Clare Island on Saturday, and the weather conditions were similar.
Yeah.
And as basic a place as it is, it was just absolutely mesmerising is too strong, but it's something like that. And when we were in the boat in Runa Pier, a school of dolphins came out the boat beside us. It was absolutely out of this world.
Fantastic. Well, I often go off Runa Pier. I've got a pal living down there just near Runa, and he has a curragh, and we take the curragh out in the summer into the mouth of Clew Bay in the water there between Clare Island and Runa, and fish for mackerel and pollock. And if you get it on a fantastic sunny day, it's as they say in Lewisburg, you're in God's pocket.
God's pocket. I saw that. Yeah, two men in a boat. And how do you describe yourself, Peter? Are you a journalist, an author?
Well, I'm retired.
No one ever retires, Peter. That's just a misnomer.
Yeah, I'm a journalist, and for most of my career, I was either a reporter or a commissioning editor. And yes, I've written a couple of books, so I suppose you could say I'm an author. So look, I'm just me. I've a curious mind. I love living. I love people. I love nature. And when my mind latches onto something of interest, I find myself, I want to investigate it. I want to find out more. And sometimes, yes, I want to write about it.
And you're always going to be in this field.
It's too late to change that.
As a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, is that what you felt you wanted to do?
Not quite at that age. It was 19 when the penny dropped. Although looking back the couple of years before then, I think an astute observer might have looked at me and said, that fella's going to get into, politics or journalism or writing, or because I was just curious about the world around me, and I was very interested in current events. In the news and what was happening in the world. And, I would ask questions. My parents sometimes were hugely embarrassed by me because I would just come straight out and ask somebody a question. And I didn't quite have the appropriate filter, I suppose.
The time and the place thing?
Yeah, but I suppose that's what made me a reporter. I wondered, what happened, why did it happen, how did it happen, who was there, tell me all about it. So I would ask. But I was 19 before I realized that actually they're the key qualities you need to have, I suppose, to be a reporter. A curiosity as to the world around you and a willingness to ask questions. And of course, to listen, I should add that.
Yeah. Well, the listening is a given, but if you don't listen, you can't ask the appropriate questions. I mean, you go to some press conferences today, and the questions are inane,
They're inane, and also an awful lot of reporters seem incapable of asking just one precise, succinct question. They'll roll 3 or 4 or 5 questions into one sentence. And of course, the information they're looking for is lost because the person answering, who's usually a politician, just goes off on a tangent on one of the questions. So the best questions are, they're short, they're clear, and you allow the person answer, and then ask a follow-up.
Yeah, there's no better way to obfuscate than ask 3 things at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
So your school then was Rathmines, or how did you get into journalism in those days?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Rathfarnham. And I went to school in the high school.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, at that stage. Why did you go there?
No, I went to a funny place called Clongow. I wouldn't talk about it. But the high school was very unique. We used to go up there and play rugby, and that's how I knew about it.
Yeah, well, you used to go up and play rugby, and you used to beat us, I remember.
I wouldn't say that, though.
At that time, high school was in Harcourt Street, which is in the centre of Dublin. It's now in Rathgar, which is in the suburbs.
Yeah.
So I used to cycle my bike into school from Rathfarnham most days, and when I was a little bit older, I had a motorbike, so I went on a motorbike, and it was a good school. It was good for me. I was not a great student. We had 3 streams in each year. and there was an A stream where they did Latin. There was a BL stream where they did Latin. Sorry, the A was the really bright guys. BL was B Latin, and BD was B drawing, and I was in the BD class, which was a bit of a circus. But
that's where all the characters were appearing.
Well, that's right. That's
Trust me,
it's true. But I was lucky that there were a couple of young teachers came in when I think I'd just done the intercert as it was then, the junior cert now, and I was starting to do the leaving cert cycle. And these teachers were young, enthusiastic, and they had an enormous impact on my life, particularly the English teacher, Mr. Blackmore, and the geography teacher, Mr. Broad. And suddenly my mind was opened, and I started listening, I suppose, and that curiosity in me was awakened. And I got involved in the school magazine, got involved in writing letters to the Irish Times, and expressing a view.
Under your name of hope.
And then, miraculously got into college. And in my first year in college, got involved in the student newspaper. And just after Christmas, I was editor of it. And at that moment, it dawned on me, God, this is really what I like. This is what I want to do. And my mind has never changed since.
Well, I was doing the same in UCD in the late 70s, early 80s, studying politics and economics. And the summer of 81, 82, this book came out from two people. Blew my mind. And the thing of Gubu and all that, you're studying politics and believing what the theory is and then reading about what goes on in real life. It was mind-blowing. As a student who was idealistic.
Yeah, well, I would have been idealistic as well. I still am, I think. I still have ideals, and I'm still idealistic. But that was a very crazy year. And as you say...
the most amazing book I ever read. I gave it to loads of people who lived abroad and said, you really got to read this and try and understand the fabric of our culture and how things happen, because you won't believe it if I told you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The seminal things you read in your life, and that, I have to say, without blowing smoke in your ears, that was one of them.
Well, you're very kind. You're very generous.
No.
Thank you very much. It was fantastic to write it, to write The Boss with Joe Joyce, my writing partner.
Yeah.
And I had only been in journalism at that stage for 4 years or so. I was pretty young.
Yeah.
83, I was 30. I was 30 years old. And I remember before it came out, the publishers were Poole Begg, run by Philip McDermott. And we asked Philip, what would be, what would make a bestseller? And he said, if you sold 1,000. And we thought, oh, wow, God, wouldn't that be amazing? And, it sold many, many, many times more than that. It was an extraordinary success and was very humbling, very humbling. But people are kind about it, as you were just.
Well, I couldn't believe how young we were when I was years older. You look back and said, "Look at my age. Look when you wrote it. It was amazing." You know, so it's just one of those moments in your life that you say, "Wow, it happened."
Yeah, it did happen. It did, and it kept on happening throughout. Yeah, it was 1982. It was one of the most extraordinary years, and of course the characters were extraordinary. Charles Haughey and Sean Doherty and the
Patrick
others.
Connolly.
Yeah,
flying back from Concord to get fired.
Yeah.
You couldn't write the script these days. Well, now it might be easier to believe that those days it was incredulous.
Yeah, and the funny thing was that I suppose nobody had written about politics in Ireland at that time before Joe and I did, and particularly Joe. Joe was the political mind in our authorship. He had a much more astute understanding of politics than I did. I was the guy who would just ferret around the place, running around like a mad Jack Russell Terrier.
You're the Dustin Hoffman or the Robert Redford, I think.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think he might have been Woodward. I might have been Bernstein. I sort of would run around ferreting out stories, but Joe brought intellectual heft to the whole project and really astute political analysis. He was much more advanced than I was.
And where does Irishness fit into your body politic life thinking?
I've never really been asked that question. I'm Irish. What was it? Was it? I am of this place. Something Yeats said. I mean, this is my home. This is my country. This is where I was born. Where my mum and dad were born.
But are there certain characteristics that we put as people we carry with us or portray to others?
I think there are some. I mean, some of the cliches about the Irish. They are cliches, but they're true, and they're cliches because they are true. We are an outgoing people. We're broadly a friendly people. I think we like other people, and when strangers meet an Irish person, they often find them very ebullient, very friendly, very outgoing. And I think all of those sort of cliched characteristics about us in general are true. And you find that when you travel, and I've done a lot of travel in over the years, and when you go abroad and you do have this personality that you're interested in other people and you want to talk to other people and you just do it, you're repaid in kind. And one of the things you find when you travel is, you'll say to somebody, oh, where are you from? Well, I'm from here. And then they say, where are you from?
Yeah.
And I'm from Ireland. And they, Ireland, it's a positive, almost invariably. It is a positive. Whatever it is they've heard about Ireland, it might be very little or it might be actually quite a lot. But whatever it is, 99 times out of 100, it is positive. They think good about Ireland. They think it's beautiful. They've maybe heard the music, some of the literature. They've maybe met a couple of Irish people and have enjoyed their company. So I think there's a lot about us that is really good and is distinctive. If I was to maybe think of a negative or two, I would think that we're not very good at taking hard decisions as a people and as a kind of political. As a polity, governments aren't good at taking hard decisions. And some of the stuff in recent weeks that has come up, about, say, water infrastructure, electricity, power, these problems have been around for 30 or 40 years, and we haven't dealt with them. And that does not speak good of us as a people. I was reading something there. My old colleague, Pat Leahy in the Irish Times, was writing it on Saturday, about Ardnacrusha. Could Ardnacrusha happen now?
Never.
And the answer was probably not. It would get bogged down in planning and political argument for 30 or 40 years. And, it happened in the 20s and 30s when Ireland was very, very young and was staggering about trying to find its feet. But politicians said, this is something we have to do, and damn it, we're going to do it. And they did it. And to their eternal credit, they did it. And I think we need a bit more of that now. I came into Dublin Airport 2 days ago, and it was brought home to me again. Well, how do you get?
You got the fast train from the airport to town?
Yeah, all of that stuff. Where's the really good?
Where's the bleeding taxi rank? Is your biggest question.
Yeah, where's the Lewis? I mean, that's just crazy. That's terrible failure. So that's maybe a negative about Ireland and us Irish. But
I was reading Tom Garvin's book on the Mass overnight. I read it in a day.
Yeah,
it struck me how, where you just say decisions were made, decisive thinking, a kind of precision that we have never seen since in many ways.
That's right. And he and T.K. Whitaker were men who had vision, and, they came out of De Valera, plunged the country into protectionism, and we became narrow focused in all sorts of ways, social, political, economic. And it was Whitaker and Lamass, of course, who said, we have to open up, we have to trade with the world. And that led to the joining the European Union as it is now and what have you. And we do need, in my view, people of vision and the housing crisis. Good God, so many people who might listen to this podcast will be caught up in the housing crisis. And that's been going on now for, 10, 12 years or so. And we really haven't got to grip with it.
TK was the most amazing man. I thought I went up and met him in Gleason's and just having lunch. I had to introduce myself. He just blew my mind. A charming man, so understated, but what a genius.
Yeah, well, he would have influenced your college years.
Yeah, absolutely. To see my academic studies in front of me in live and on my back notes was incredible. You know, it was unbelievable. Different times.
Yeah, different times.
And talk to me of the old fart stage of your life when you got this notion, Peter, to top the world.
Well, I mentioned earlier that I rode a motorbike into school when I was 17 and 18, and I did. And I think round about the age of 19 or 20, I sort of gave up motorbikes and you know, life. I led the life that I led. And in my mid-50s, a pal of mine suggested that we go on a motorbike jaunt. So I borrowed a bike and learned how to ride again, and did a trip. And I just thought at the end of that trip, I thought, oh God, this was just so fantastic. I have to get back to this. So I bought a bike, and I've been biking since then, since the mid-50s. So when retirement was looming, I retired formally aged 66, and I wanted to do a big trip. And my wife, the aforementioned Moira, is very tolerant of me. That sort of thing isn't her bag. It doesn't interest her, but she, you know, very generously said, look, you do it, you know, go off and do it. So I went for 8 months from Tierra del Fuego in the bottom of South America to Prudhoe Bay in the north of Alaska on my motorbike, which is actually sitting outside my front door at the moment. So it went all that way and came home with me.
And what amazed me is not too many faults, just 3 sets of tires, but the bike never gave you a problem.
The bike never gave me. I mean, it's an R1200 BMW GS Adventure, so it's, you know, it's a big bike, and it's designed for the sort of thing that I did, very, very long distance biking over diverse terrain, you know, good roads, bad roads, off road. And yeah, 44,000 kilometers, not one single mechanical issue, which is quite extraordinary. 3 sets of tires, as you say, and I did fall off the bike a couple of times, but at very, very, very low speed, you know, going 4 or 5 kilometers an hour along gravelly roads. And you know yourself the way the front wheel can get stuck into and just slew sideways and you topple over. And you feel an awful idiot. You haven't hurt yourself.
But you're alone on the desert, hopefully nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching, that's right. And you know, you have to take off all the luggage and strain to lift it up again and get going. But, you know, it happens and you do it and you live to tell the tale.
As you are. And did that take resilience? What I know the drive to do it is clear to me, but to keep you going through bad days, lonely days, tired days.
What keeps you going? The fear of failure, the fear of not doing it. And you've set out to do something and, you know, your family and your friends know what you're doing. And of course, you're writing it, as I was writing about it in the Irish Times. Yeah. There's a great fear of, I don't want to be defeated by this. You know, I'm going to get challenged. There are going to be days when I'll be lonely, as you say, or when I'm in difficulty or I'm just tired or whatever it is. But I don't want to admit defeat and give up. I want to keep going. I've said I want to get to Prudhoe Bay, the north of Alaska, a place called Dead Horse.
Yes,
I want to get
I saw
the appropriately named Dead Horse. And you just you keep on doing it. I mean, I suppose your question is what.
I have this nightmare that I never finish college, or that someone's going to find out that I don't have the qualifications for this job and I'm like a total fraud.
Hi, I'm Jane Marine, host of The Dream, and that's a clip from my appearance on Mind If We Talk, a new podcast from BetterHelp that demystifies what therapy is really about and is here to remind us all that whatever we're going through, we're never alone. I recently sat down with host and licensed therapist Jesus Joe to talk about imposter syndrome, where I shared a bit more about my experience with feeling inadequate or not worthy of my job, motherhood, being a girlfriend. And of course, because this is therapy, we offer solutions. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to those kinds of feelings. I can't wait for you to hear it, to listen to the rest of our conversation and hear other guests explore struggles we all face in life. Listen and subscribe to Mind If We Talk, wherever you get your podcasts.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
From whence cometh resilience. And certainly life's experience, I think, teaches you resilience. And if you've any sort of level of self-awareness, you will know that you're going to face defeats and failures in your life in all sorts of ways, personal, professional, every sort of way. And it's how you get over them. And you learn from failure, you learn from defeat, and that builds resilience in you. That, the experience taught me, okay, I won't do it like that again, I'll do it like this. And you keep on going. And there's great satisfaction out of setting a target for yourself, working hard at it and achieving it. Maybe not as good as you wanted, maybe a little bit better than you thought you could. But setting a target, setting a goal and doing it is really, really satisfying. And that was part of, I suppose, the journey I took and I write about in the book, is setting a target, doing it, exploring the people and places you meet, and just remembering it all and enjoying it and realizing, I'm 70 and I'm doing this. I am a lucky bugger to be able to do that.
And you're lucky the internet and things that come along. I could imagine you trying to call from Tierra del Fuego, editor, stop. I'm here to tell the Fuego, stop, comma. Imagine that, and finding a phone line that worked.
Yeah. No, I took my little my MacBook Air with me. Yeah. And, everywhere you go now, or everywhere I went, a couple of things are apparent. One is Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's pretty much everywhere. And the other thing is tapping with your card on payment machines. So very little cash is involved. Almost everywhere I went, you tapped for your coffee or whatever it was, your petrol. So the world has got smaller.
Yeah.
And I suppose the second half of that thought is, while the world has got smaller and you think I'm going to these really faraway places with very different people, once you get talking to them even a little bit, you realize they're just like me and I'm just like them. And they're just like everybody I know, and everybody I know is just like them. They all have the same needs, the need for, love, company, food, warmth, shelter. People aren't that different wherever you go in the world. And that's a nice, comforting thought, I think. And it's nice to realize that after a while, that we shouldn't be afraid of people who are different to us, who speak a different language or maybe wear different clothes or live in a different way than us. That when you scratch the surface and dig a little deeper, they're just like us.
Well, I don't know if your daughter's age. My daughter's 27 eldest. The fear of making a mistake impedes them from trying things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a stroke. My voice goes down again when I get passionate, Peter. But the willingness to try things is what we grew up with,
Yes, sure, absolutely. And that is, that's part of resilience, isn't
Correct.
It? And, if you've had a stroke, your resilience.
You have to get up and go, as you say, get up and go.
Running a podcast, for goodness sake. Having done that. I mean, that's fantastic. Well done, you. Brilliant.
Yeah, you just do what you have to do. I know by here, but I just wish my daughters would try things, and you do get around. And the highs of your trip then, Peter, and the lows. There must have been some dark days where your Spanish couldn't get out of trouble. Hola, help me. Ayúdame.
There weren't too many low days, I must say. There were a few days when I very much missed Moira not being with me and seeing and enjoying some of the things that I was seeing and enjoying. She's a very visual person. She's an artist. And there were many times when I was looking at landscape or just extraordinary beauty of nature. And I know that it would have given her huge pleasure to see it as well, and to have been able to share that with her was something that I regretted I wasn't able to do.
Beyond photographically and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I came back with 9,000 photographs.
I can imagine.
Yeah. The high days, I mean, the whole thing was a high, sailing through the Beagle Channel on a ferry. I went as far south to start as I could, went to a place called Puerto Williams, which is just south of Ushuaia.
Yeah.
Ushuaia is in Argentina, Puerto Williams is in Chile, and it's right beside the Cape, the Southern Cape, the Big Horn. And going through that and seeing stormy petrels flying and darting down onto the sea and back up again, looking at glaciers flowing off the Darwin Mountains, and of course the name of the channel, the Beagle, and it just, that was magical. The whole southern Chile experience was very magical, and as I was going along, people asked me, what's your favorite place? And I nearly always said Chile. Chile is a beautiful country. It is so long and narrow from north to south, like you go from glaciers in Tierra del Fuego to the Atacama Desert in the north, the driest place on the planet. But as I got towards the end, if I'm asked now my favorite places, where would I go back to in a heartbeat? Canada. It would be to the Pacific Northwest. To Western Canada, British Columbia, the Yukon. The Yukon I found absolutely magical, really captivating. It's about the size of France. There's 43,000 people living there, 30,000 plus of them living in one place. It's just vast, and it's empty. But of course, it's filled with wonderful stories about the gold rush. And writers, poets, and novelists like Jack London. Right. That really fired my imagination. I'd love to go back there.
Is it barren or is it wooded? I always have this notion it's kind of barren territory, Peter.
No, I suppose you could argue it's barren in the sense it is wooded. I mean, it's one vast forest.
Yeah.
Of a small variety of pine trees and these huge snaking rivers in their old age stage, the Klondike and others, the Yukon River itself. But I suppose what does it do for me? It's the sense of adventure is enormous. The sense of your own smallness is very great, and you get that sense, or I get it, also in the Andes. If you're in the middle of the Andes and you're looking out at the earth around you, you really are struck by a number of things, or I am anyway. One is the extraordinary beauty of nature, and the other is one's own relative insignificance.
Perspective.
Yes, it is perspective. Yeah, absolutely, and it's humbling, and it's. You learn, I think, of the importance of nature and the natural world and our part in it. We're not, I think mankind or humankind has had a bit of a habit of thinking that it's king, it dominates, etc., and everything will bend to our will. Well, no, that's not true. Nature is king, and we have a place in nature, and we need, I think it's a political thing as well. We need to re-find our place in nature and re-find our respect for nature and stop destroying things.
Very true, very well said. But it strikes me, when you say you went on this trip, it's kind of not flippant, but no real planning, and every day was take it as it comes. But just as you say there, you've already given me the shakes. So do you have enough petrol? Where's the next petrol station? Where's water? Obviously, day-to-day planning had to have some depth of detail.
Yeah, there was a little bit, all right, but I was never anywhere that remote, and of course the GS Adventure has a 33-litre tank.
Yeah,
which to non-motorcycle people that's an enormous tank. I mean,
so you get through the Atacama. No problem, vertical.
Oh, yeah, you would, absolutely. Right. Yeah. There were a couple of times when, yes, I was running low on petrol and I ran out once or twice. I had 2 little spare canisters bolted onto my panniers, but you had to do a little bit of planning for stuff like that. But by and large, I just knew I was going to go from the extreme south to the extreme north. I was going to go up the western side of South America and North America. I went up through the center of Central America and the eastern side of Mexico. But apart from that broad planning, I didn't I didn't make too many plans, and I'm glad I didn't, because
that was the joy of it, was it?
It was part of the joy of it, but it meant I could react as well. I mean, if I'd set it into my head, look, I'm going to go from, let's say I'm going to go from Dublin to Galway, and I'm going to go via Athlone, and that's the way it's going to be. If you have that in your head and something happens along the way, you need to have the capacity to say to yourself, oh, that looks interesting. If I turn right up there, I think I'm going to go that way. And you're not really sure what's up there, but something has caught your eye, or somebody said to you, oh, you should go via Longford or Leitrim or whatever it is. Unless you have the flexibility in your thinking to say, yeah, I'm going to do that. You won't do it, and you'll miss out an awful lot. Like when I was in Colombia, I was told that there was an interesting migration situation in a place called Neclochley, which is a small town on the Caribbean coast in Colombia.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
You were made for going the extra mile for your pet, and Farah Pets was made to do the same. Farah Pets supplements are vet-created with innovative ingredients that combine Eastern and Western therapies so your pet can thrive. After all, you would do anything to help your pet feel their best, and so would we. Visit farahpets.com/pod to get 20% off today. That's FERA pets.com/POD. Farah Pets. We were made for this.
And I went there, and I ended up spending over a week there. Again, I got my bike into a hostel and left it there, and went with some migrants across the Gulf of Darien to another part of Colombia, and walked part of the way with them into the jungle. They carried on and went over the border into Panama. And then from Panama, buses and walking up through the whole of Central America into Mexico. And I followed a lot of those people. I spent a lot of time with them because, of course, the whole story about the southern border of the United States and the attitude to migrants was something to which I wanted to witness and I want to find out about. And it's part of the, I suppose, disturbing lesson of the trip, that the narrative in the United States from certain people about, they're all gangsters and drug smugglers and mad people, and they're coming into our country to blah, 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 blah. Absolutely nothing of the sort. They're poor people looking for a better life. And that's what you see. And so, in terms of, did I plan everything? No, I didn't plan everything. And by not planning everything, I could react to things that I came across and spend time looking at those things and writing about them.
In the United States, it's a different country. I lived in Boston for 10 years.
Okay, yeah.
And I was struck by some of the things you said, the people you met of that part of America that we don't really know or understand. Oh, yeah, I don't even want to understand. Yeah. It's a tough country now to be biking through if you were this year,
Yeah, it would be, yeah. I mean, and I met quite a few people who would have voted for Trump, and it was difficult to understand. There were people who, in one way, were extremely kind and welcoming and warm and all the rest of it, and hospitable. And in another sense, they had a completely different set of values certainly to myself.
Right, with the gun rack in the back of the Jeep, you know what I mean?
Yeah, in terms of guns, in terms of foreigners, in terms of values, what is society and where do I fit into it? Where does my family fit? Where does my community fit? What are my obligations to myself, my family, my community, my country, etc., etc.? A lot of those people had certainly a different set of values to my own.
And how many times have you done the Camino?
Well, I'm just back from doing one.
¿Lo has acabado todavía? Have you done it in one foul swoop? No.
I'm in a walking group here in Wicklow, and 18 of us went off, and we did the the final stretch of the Camino Frances from Sarria to Santiago.
Okay. So you started in Paris or Saint-Jean or where?
No, we started in a place called Sarria.
Sarria. This time, but when you started the first time to complete it?
The first time, the really big one was from Saint-Jean. We're in the French Pyrenees. And that's the one that takes you 5 weeks.
Yeah.
It's the one I did with my daughter, Natasha. And we wrote our book, Buen Camino, which was the first travel book before From Tip to Top.
That Martin Sheen's movie, I watch it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
to me, it's unique. Now, I go to Santiago a lot, but I never did the walk, and I can't probably do it now physically, but spiritually, mentally, being there in the square where it's not too busy with pilgrims and hearing the bells and seeing them come in and setting off and seeing the golden shells marked along the cobbles. To me, is something I wish I had done and never done, and that's why I'm fascinated that apart from biking, that your commitment to the Camino is incredible.
There's a magic about the Camino.
There is,
and the magic, it gets to me. Here I'm a sort of atheistic Protestant, if you like, and not even a Catholic.
But it's not religious, Peter. I mean, there's religion mixed in there, but it's not really religious per se, so I understand what you're saying.
It's religious if you want to. It's profoundly religious if you want to, but it's to me it's more spiritual, and there's an enormous joyousness from walking and falling into company with people and just chatting to them, and then you fall out of company and you might see them a day or two later and you have a chat again, and you're sort of resetting your body clock when you walk like that, and you become very conscious of the landscape you're walking through and the nature you're experiencing and the sort of the hubbub of daily life and the pressures of daily life back home, whatever they are, whether they're work, family, community, whatever they are, they melt like the snow in spring, and things open up in your head in a different way. And I always come back from the Camino enriched and reinvigorated and happy to be alive.
And music, Peter, is there a song that's come to you over the years that you turn to or gives you strength, or you're going to tell me?
Well, you mentioned music before we started, and I thought about it a bit, and the piece that I think speaks to me most in terms of the things I love and at this stage in my life is Morning Song by Edvard Grieg, and it's part of the Peer Gynt suites.
Yeah.
Starts with a beautiful flute, and then the oboes come in, and it builds up crescendo with the whole orchestra and kettle drums, and it's a musical representation of sunrise and of the dawn, or of flower opening. And it is, to me, it's a wonderfully enriching, uplifting sound, and it's the music of nature.
And is that a song you turn to?
Song I turn to?
No, is it that a piece of music you turn to get refreshed, or? Memories?
Yes, I would listen to Grieg
in a dark room by yourself.
Yeah, or anywhere. Grieg, Sibelius, Tchaikovsky, Mozart. I mean, if I'm getting to this more serious level, it would be Mozart and Beethoven. But I mean, I like Dylan, I like the Beatles, I like pop music. But just if I had to pick one, it would be if I wanted to listen to a song at the end of my life, to a piece of music at the end of my life, it might be Grieg.
And a quote you carry with you over the years?
A quote I carry. Well,
I mean, is there any words of wisdom that have influenced you, and you say you quote them to other people or a writer or anything that comes to mind?
Try again. Do it. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. Let your conscience be your guide. That was something my mother said to me a lot. Yeah, I think just and live life, enjoy life. We are so lucky. We're so lucky in Ireland. We live in an exceptionally beautiful country, a very stable democracy. And as we look out in the world today, I think at what we see going on in certain other countries, notably the United States, I think we should be grateful that we live in a stable democracy. don't believe everything you see online. That might be a saying for the day.
Coming from a journalist, I'll take that as a given. You know what's quality and what's not. Peter Murtagh, buen camino, and thank you for joining me today on Aran and This.
Muchas gracias, Rosa. Buen camino.
Un abrazo, amigo.
Adios.
This is Paige DeSorbo from Giggly Squad. Opill is a game changer for sexual reproductive health. They're the first over-the-counter daily birth control pill available in the U.S. Finally, the days of needing a prescription to get birth control are over. Opill is FDA approved, no prescription needed, full prescription strength, estrogen-free, and available online and at most major retailers. So when there's no prescription, no appointment, there's no hassle. No more waiting at the doctor's office to get a prescription. Opill will be easily accessed over the counter, in store, or online, and will be ready for when you need it. Opill is available online and at most major retailers. Use code GIGGLY for 25% off your first month of Opill at opill.com.
You were made for going the extra mile for your pet, and Farah Pets was made to do the same. Farah Pets supplements are vet-created with innovative ingredients that combine Eastern and Western therapies so your pet can thrive. After all, you would do anything to help your pet feel their best, and so would we. Visit farahpets.com/pod to get 20% off today. That's FERA pets.com/POD. Farah Pets. We were made for this.
They say plants like music. Yeah, no, like really, they respond to the vibrations of it, which means that this playlist you're listening to, the plants are too. You know what else plants like? Organic soil from Miracle Grow. It's made with all the best stuff like wood fiber and compost. Plus, it's OMRI certified organic, which officially means it's made with superior ingredients. And when you give your plants the stuff that makes them happy, they won't judge you on your iffy playlist. Hear that, plants? So go ahead and give them Miracle Grow.